I'm here to teach you how to make a hula hoop. Here's an easy way to make a hoop for around $10 a hoop. The first thing you're going to need is you're going to go to your local box hardware store and pick up a spool of irrigation tubing. It's about 100 feet and not too expensive, but you want to make sure you pick out the 3/4 inch because that's the correct size for making hula hoops. So that's the first supply you need. The next thing you're going to need is some coupling. Looks just like this, and this holds your hoops together. And then you're going to need your basic electrical tape. And the other tool that you're going to need is a pipe cutter and a measuring tape. And you're going to want to look up the formula for how to figure out the circumference of a circle. So now we're going to start by taking apart this spool of tubing. So again, this is 3/4 inch irrigation tubing, and you're going to go ahead and just take all this tape off of it and get it all clean and free so you can go. Sometimes it's got caps on the end. You're going to want to pull those off because they'll be in your way. But you want to basically just loosen this whole big guy up. And be careful it doesn't spring out at you because it can get really big. And then you want to pull off these caps so that they're out of your way. All right, that's that step. Once you have the spool all unloosened and all taken apart, you're going to want to measure out how big of a circumference of the hoop you want. So for this hoop, I'm making a 48-inch hoop, which is the diameter of the hoop. But in order to figure out how big to cut it, you have to do a little bit of math. So you just get on the Google and you type in how big of a diameter you want, and it'll tell you what the circumference is. And what I'm doing is taping my measuring tape right to the tubing because it's bendy, so it doesn't quite cooperate. So I've learned this little trick makes it a lot easier to make sure you get the right size. And sure, you can eyeball it and just try and do the diameter that way, but this way you get a more accurate cut and it comes out better, I think. So it's worth the extra effort to take the time to do this. And we're going to mark it. So we're going to cut it right here. So I'm going to go back and take all these off to get them out of our way. Now that we've got it all measured out, you're going to take your pipe cutters, and I always go on the longer side of your hoop because it's better to be bigger than little. And you're just going to chomp this hoop, and that will create basically all you need to make a hoop. Just give it a little spin. And these are really sharp, so you want to be careful. This is a adult activity. So that's that. Then you got your first cut hoop. Now we're going to put our connector in. So the next step, you're going to need to grab a friend because this part requires a little bit of muscle. So you want to have a pretty tough friend because you're going to have to push these two things together. You're going to take the coupling and insert it in one side as far as you can. And then you're going to do the same thing in the other side. And here's the tricky part. This is where you need a buddy to come stand on this side, and you stand on this side, and then you push with all you got. And then push, 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 push. Go, go, go. Breathe. Push, 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 push. There we go. And that's good. And sometimes it leaves a little bit of a gap, and that's okay. If that bothers you, you can take a little hair dryer and heat it up a little bit, but not too much because you don't want to make it too soft. The next step is you're going to pick what color you want. I usually use bright colors because that looks good against the black. It really pops. So let's do a yellow one today. So we're going to take our yellow tape, and the first thing you're going to do is wrap this seam so that it basically hides it because you don't want to show your work. So give that a good wrap, and notice I'm wrapping that straight up and down. The next piece of tape we put on, we're going to put on at an angle on purpose so that we get this nice diagonal wrap. So now you're going to take and go across your seam, kind of in an X, a little bit like a one side of an X. And that'll start you off at a good diagonal. And then it's just wrap around. I've also learned if you make a lot of these, put a Band-Aid on your thumb. It protects you from getting blisters. But you're going to wrap this just around the whole hoop. You want to make sure you don't get any wrinkles, and you want to make sure you maintain a pretty even spacing, but it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so when you get back to the where you started, you want to make sure that you line up your tape so that you hide your work. So you want to make sure that that lines right up, and it usually does. And if it doesn't, there's a little trick. You just take and wrap some straight around a little bit wider and make your seam a little wider, and hides that meeting of the edges. And that's it. That's all it takes to make your own hula hoop. This is an adult size hoop. This one again is a 48-inch diameter. By the way, the ideal size for a hula hoop should be somewhere between your chest and your belly button. So this is a big one, but I like a big hoop. The bigger they are, the easier they are to swing around your hips. There you go. Easy as pie.